On. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Our baby is 18.
18 can get a driver's license, can vote, and no, they can't drink yet.
No. Shout out to,
as Spencer will point out, they can in Europe.
I mean, speaking of Spencer, who is our voting rights advocate.
I think more Esme than Spencer. I think that's what she said when she got caught in the bar, right?
They've both said it. Both said it.
I mean, those two, that mess. But, you know, Spencer is our voting rights advocate, and I stand by that.
Yes. Keep the polls open. Keep them open. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm. Spencer is going to the organizing school of Stacey Abrams, and I stand by it. Polls open. How are y'all doing today on this Sunday?
I'm feeling pretty chill and relaxed. I actually spent yesterday binge watching shows that I need to catch up on, mainly Boba Fett, Star Wars Discovery. Worthwhile. Oh, and then the cartoon Star Wars Voyager.
Okay. I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Is this on Disney Plus?
No, Star Wars stuff is on Paramount Plus. Boba Fett is on Disney Plus. And Star Wars Discovery.
Is it Star Trek? Let's talk about
Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek. Sorry. Star Trek Discovery. Yes.
I was like, they're doing a Star Wars Discovery. I was like, that's bold, because isn't there a Star Trek Discovery?
And you know me, I was like, is there Star Trek? Or is there Star Wars stuff I missed? Like
No, Star Trek Discovery, and it's awesome. It's the one with the black girl being the captain.
Mm-hmm. I remember the backlash. It was delicious.
I like her from Walking Dead.
The hatred of racists fuels me.
Yeah, I like her boo currently, David Ayala, I think his name is her. That's her on the show. He is fine as wine. A nice
fine like Sean Butler, because that's a man. Anyway. This lead-in. Woo. All right. Do y'all want to talk about how y'all are, or do you want to hop into this recap?
I just want to talk
I think I covered myself, so I don't know the rest of y'all.
I never want to talk about how my week went, because quite frankly, I'm trying to forget.
I have just been really enjoying Zoe and Elmo and Rocco. That's what I'm about. And shout out to Jen M on Twitter, who has now started calling Bailey Lou, Lil Wee or Weezy Faison.
Yeah, Weezy.
And then Sandra called her Lil Weezy, and now I'm thinking of her as a rapper. So that's my joy for the week. All right, let's hop into this recap, which is a little disjointed. So sorry, but here we are.
Don't apologize for it.
Okay. Start the week. You know I hated it when Nina and Sunny at the penthouse. Nina, girl, you are not an Uber, but here we are. Sunny talks about Stone, talks about his marriage, and Nina listens and leaves. Carly is also at this footbridge, and she runs into Drew. Alexis and Harmony are at Charlie's. This is all still New Year's Day, apparently. Alexis almost takes a drink. Harmony comes in, talks her down. She does not take that drink. Maxie, Felicia, and Anna are at the Savoys talking forgiveness. Maxie says she wants to start the new year fresh with Anna, and Felicia and Anna cement their friendship. Mac talks to Laura and Kevin about Cyrus being in jail. Then Mac gets a call that Peter is awake from Britt. Victor is at GH to see Peter, and Britt stops him in his tracks. And Victor is very petty with her in his quiet Cassadine Sheffield ways. Austin is tending to Peter when his finger flickers, and that's how we find out he's awake. Victor sees Peter and Peter says, "You betrayed me." Victor basically was like, "Yeah, but you did it first," and that he wants to see Drew for some unfinished business. Peter continues to be fixated on seeing Maxie and Wheezy. Maxie and her company go to the hospital where Mac kicks Victor out of Peter's room and limits access. Laura and Kevin go home to have some sexy time and are interrupted by Tracey, who brings news that Luke is dead. Tracey sleeps on Laura and Kevin's couch and in the morning tells them that Luke died in a cable car accident in Austria after they had an argument. Tracey is blaming herself. Laura says that she called Lucky, and Tracey says that she cannot stay for Laura to tell Bobby she needs her family. When Tracey leaves, Kevin encourages Laura to grieve how she needs and says he is not intimidated by her past with Luke, which swoon, to be honest. Valentine runs into Bobby, where he finds out that Peter is awake. Bobby won't let him in to see Peter, and she also gives him some history about the Cassadine family in Port Charles while doing it. Alexis comes in from one of her meetings, and when Bobby gets a call from Laura, she promises to keep Valentine away from Peter's room. Bobby heads to Laura and is in disbelief when she hears her brother died. She leaves him a voicemail referring to herself by the name he called her, Barbara Jean, and collapses in Laura's arms. She does not believe that it is an accident that killed Luke and that he was actually targeted. The hospital stays busy this week when Maxie sees Martin Gray taking on Peter's case. She is obviously very upset, and he tells her it is all business. Martin will only represent Peter on the Franco murder charges and for a large retainer. Britt goes to see Peter, which Austin tries and fails to intercept, and Britt lays into him. She tells him they are not family, that he will never see Wheezy, and she hopes he rots in jail until he joins their father in hell. When Austin asks her if that made her feel better, she says it did, and somehow that transitions to Austin volunteering to be Britt's wingman, so we know where that is headed. Nicholas and Ava run into Victor at the Metro Court. Ava encourages Nicholas to play nice with his uncle Victor, while Nicholas sees the invader that has a front page story about Cassadine industry that is not at all favorable. In walks Shawn, looking fine as hell, by the way, announcing that he owns the invader now and that Nicholas financed the story. When Shawn leaves, Victor reminds Nicholas that he will take out anybody, Shawn, Hayden, whoever, that messes with the family. Victor is basically like, "You want me to?" And Ava did not want him to do that. He again drops that the family needs to stay ready. Kevin shows up and brings news of Luke's death. For whatever reason, Nicholas can get a hold of Ethan when Lucky couldn't. So after some very shady exchanges between Victor and Kevin, Nicholas takes Kevin to make a call to Ethan about Luke. Shawn shows up to Alexis's house and asks her to take a job at the invader. After a lot of hesitation and some encouragement from Sam, she eventually agrees. At the Q mansion, Monica is excited to see Drew and hope that he had been with Sam and Scout all night. She is disappointed to find out that she is wrong. She tells Drew that there are some issues with the ELQ that he should address soon. He lets her know he only came home to shower and he plans to visit Peter. When he does, he runs into Valentine, who very smartly says, "If Peter can still program you, maybe you should stay away." He also tells Drew he owns his ELQ shares with a wink and a smile. Also at the Q mansion, BLQ, Ned, and Olivia talk about Leo and how they will support him with his diagnosis on the autism spectrum, and that Ned will officially be adopting Leo. BLQ acknowledges that she wishes she had taken Austin's concern seriously. Leo comes in for a very cute moment and takes BLQ to see his photo art book he got for Christmas. #Trina's Power. Olivia and Ned talk about their marriage and decide they will be staying together. In walks Tracey with news of Luke. Once again, once everyone leaves the living room, she asks the question that is on all of our minds to BLQ: "Why are you pretending that baby is still yours?" Making the baby swap even more convoluted, Anna and Felicia want to push Maxie to let them find her baby, and Maxie is reluctant yet again. Robert arrives with news of Luke's death and devastates Anna and Felicia. Felicia and Maxie head to the Q mansion while Robert and Anna reminisce over their friends. In the words of Anna, first Holly and now Luke. Felicia offers her condolences to Tracey when Maxie and BLQ start acting strangely. Tracey pieces together that Bailey is actually Louise. BLQ tells Maxie that Tracey doesn't know the whole story, but did know that she tried to buy a baby on the black market and was never actually pregnant. Also at the Q mansion, Harmony shows up to visit Wiley. She thanks Michael and Willow for letting her see her grandson. And when Michael goes to get Wiley ready for a play date, she checks in with Willow on how she's doing after the hearing. I know that Sandra will go into this into detail later, so I won't go into all of this, but just know Michael is not having it with Harmony, and Willow looks very uncomfortable about it. Olivia and Carly share a scene where they talk about what happened in court in their respective marriages. Olivia tells her that she and Sonny can make it like she and Ned did. Cue Sonny walking in. After Olivia leaves, Sonny admits that he still is in love with Nina, but he is working through those feelings. He also doesn't think Carly needs to know everything that happened in Nixon Falls. He continues to say that Carly knows what it's like to fall in love with someone else, because Jason. Carly grabs her coat and leaves Sonny to his barware, and we get a return to form with him throwing against the wall. Moving to the Metro Court, where my messy fave Ava goes to see Nina and celebrates the charges being dropped against her. She also gleefully cheers the potential destruction of Carson and says that there might be a real chance between Nina and Sonny. Later on, Phyllis comes to see Nina with the exact opposite advice. Phyllis tells Nina to let Carly and Sonny figure out their marriage, and that even though what she did might not have been illegal, it was definitely a violation. We finally get a glimpse of Sasha and Brando. Brando is meeting Gladys for lunch while Sasha is headed back to work at Deception. Everyone tries to discourage Sasha from being back, but she insists she is fine. Spoiler, she is not fine. Deception is going public and she wants to be there. Later on, Chase comes by Deception office to check on BLQ and Wheezy in a very wholesome exchange, brings her lunch, and they banter about bananas. Wink, wink. Just kidding, not a wink. I wish there had actually been some wordplay there, but it was seriously just about some lunch. Olivia shows up very upset with Nina because of her previous conversation with Carly. She also notices the change in the relationship with BLQ and Chase. In the Metro Court restaurant, Ned tells Alexis and Sam about Luke. They are sad to hear this until Tracey shows up with full audacity. Tracey exchanges words with the Davis girls and tries to pull Ned to the side to talk about BLQ and Wheezy. Flash is Sonny talking to Dante at his penthouse about his marriage and feelings for Nina. Sam calls Dante to the Metro Court and watches her boo arrest Tracey. Throwing in couples that who do not need to be together. Let's talk about that lack of chemistry and that kiss between Finn and Liz. Okay, we talked about it. Somehow Chase visits and he thinks that he saw a spark. And I don't know where that spark would have ever been. Also, earlier in the week, Portia and Curtis woke up in bed together. I've never seen two such beautiful people lack chemistry, but they expressed their love for each other and agreed to leave the past in the past, which we now know the past will definitely not be in the past. And thank God we finally see our kids this week. Trina and Spencer are having dinner with Ava, where they find out that Spencer will be doing restitution at the art gallery and Trina will be his boss. I know we will talk about the stare downs, but I just don't know how you can't ship these two because clearly Ava does. Trina calls Josh, who is with Cam and Esme at Kelly's. While she's gone, Spencer and Ava bond over their mutual love for Trina, and we see Spencer letting his guard down just a little bit. We get some backstory on Esme's family and some serious chemistry between Esme and Cam, which was very uncomfortable because Josh was sitting there. Josh agrees, despite being pissed at Sonny, that she will ask him about that damn cabin. And when it seems like Josh kind of sorta might be warming up to Esme, flash to Esme doing something fucking crazy at GH and picking up some pills. We end the week with Carly confronting Nina at Crimson, setting us up for a showdown between the two next week. What a week. What a week. What do y'all think? What do you think about the week? What were some of your favorite moments?
several. Well, I had some great favorite moments. The week wasn't as like great for me, even though there's some great cool moments in there. But yeah, it wasn't like I was expecting a lot more from the showdown between Carly and Sunny. Expecting more payoff, I guess, more like emotional heft. I mean, even though they were good, it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm crying or I'm emotionally jarred by what happened or I feel bad for one versus the other kind of thing. It just, the payoff wasn't there as much as the buildup was. And I'm expecting and I'm hoping that we'll see it Monday with Nina and Carly. I think we got a little whiff of it with Phyllis, but I'm hoping I get more of a payoff on Monday. Carly finally confronts Nina about being in love with her husband. We'll have to see. But should I list my favorite moments?
Yes.
Great that we got the old heads in. But again, for me, the death of Luke wasn't the gut punch that it could have been, because in my mind, Luke has been gone already. so usually when someone dies, it's usually because they've been on the canvas and then all of a sudden they're dead, and then we get a reaction to their loss. As far as I'm concerned, Luke has been gone. So there's nothing in it for me that he's dead. So it's just like, But it was great to see, Jane Elliott, Christina Wagner back on the scene. We got to see Bobby back on the scene. Laura, of course, acted her ass off, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is an Oscar for Laura Jeannie Francis, because that wasn't it for me. So, but it was great to see them. And I hope that they stay. And I'm intrigued by what hinting at that. Actually, I don't know. I actually don't think Luke is dead. I think he may have been snatched from the whatever it was that he died from, and Victor has him holed up somewhere. That's what I'm thinking, because Victor is like, he's been neutralized. I don't mean he's dead.
He's dead to me.
Yeah, he could be dead to you. I mean, he's been gone for a while, so it's like he's just off canvas. I think another good moment for me was Harmony calling out Alexis. I thought I loved that. I love the scenes with, I know you guys love the scenes with Harmony and Alexis, so I'll let you guys gush over that. The Ava Spencer scenes for me was the best part of the teen scene, because it felt like they connected again, and Spencer was really honest about how bad he treated Trina and the need to make it up to her. So I loved that. So those were like my favorite moments.
Yeah. What about you, Sandra?
I actually loved this week. I really, really did. And I think it is that I don't care about Sunny and Carly or Nina. So for me, the lack of emphasis on them is always going to make a good week for me, regardless of everything else that's happening. So that's also just like my bias. But I loved the use of the vets, and that really made the week in so many ways for me. And even though we only got the kids for one day, which normally I would be complaining about, they used them so effectively that like I was like, it didn't feel like they had only been on for a day because of how much moved in just like the 6 minutes a piece that each scene was given. So I really, for me, like when I zoomed out and thought about the week, I thought about like legacy, like these vets and these kids kind of holding it down outside of the normal kind of mafia stuff that's been defining the show for the last couple decades. Mm-hmm. So I liked the week a lot. I enjoyed it. And for me, my favorite moment was Ava making Trina Spencer's boss. I think the performances were so good. Like these three together, you know, I'm never going to take my eyes off the screen. And that's kind of like also how I pick my favorite moment, is like what were the moments where like I just had to know what happened next. And I also felt like I was so both like amused, entertained, but also like moved by the interactions between Ava and Spencer specifically. And I really loved how it's setting up like the next arc between these three characters. Like we have Sprina, of course, and like they're like the centerpiece of that scene where, you know, we see Auntie Ava putting them in the scenario that I've been wishing for a while, which is for them to have something that would put them in close proximity on a regular basis. So also shout out to our friend of the show, Javier on Twitter, because we talked about this specific scenario earlier on in the week, and then I immediately got on Twitter and was like, friend, it happened. But I think it's also like just like a nice little foreshadowing for Sprina fans, because we have been in drought so much, and you know, this cabin trip still hasn't happened, and then Spencer's going to go to jail, so it's also a little like, here's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow or whatever. Like, you're going to get a lot of Sprina in a few months. But I also appreciated, like, with Sprina, the looks are changing, right? Like so much of how we're tracking them is the looks. We're going from heart eyes to something a little bit more intense. And Trina also is given some new looks. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. He's very dreamy. And I understand that because he is. And I appreciated the bonding between Ava and Spencer. And also that it doesn't mean that the beef is over between them, but they are finding that common ground in their love for Trina. And I appreciated like kind of like the shame coming up with Spencer, and like finally being, I think this is the most honest he's been about the impact that he had on Trina, and for him to do it with someone who he has like so much hatred for, I think was really interesting. And the way that Ava finally like seemed like a step parent for once was also really interesting. But I think what was the most what I'm the most curious about is actually what's going to happen between Trina and Ava as a result. Because they kind of resolved, right? Like Trina forgave Ava, and Ava like saw how while she was seeing this as a reward, Trina's actually not into punishment. Like that's not something that brings her joy, like seeing other people suffer, even though I love Spencer and I do kind of like to see him suffer. Like it's also one of the things we love about Trina. So, and we see this in the preview, right? Ava like treat it. And I think Sydney did a great job of translating this in her performance, where she was like, you know, like I'm a little like removing herself from the situation, and also just the little bit of hesitation between her and Ava now, seeing that like there is something to what Joss, what Spencer, what these other people have been saying about Ava. And so I love that. And I also just love, why is it that we only see point of view from Ava when she's with these kids? So I was also just grateful for that, because lately Maura West has just been doing a lot of facial expressions, which we love, but I loved seeing her actually have like a meaty scene. So
I mean, it's because her husband's a dud.
Yep.
A dud on the show,
Yeah.
and a dud as a character, a dud as an actor. He's a dud.
Yeah. And like so much of like what's about to happen between them, you can see that Ava is like losing patience with him. So like she can't have point of view in scenes with him because what's she gonna say? I'm tired of your ass. Or not yet. I'm there yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's like gets into like a little bit of what I want to see more of, but so I have two favorites. So I agree, like all the Sprina stuff, like fave. And what I really loved, I mean, I'm obviously a Spencer apologist. Everyone knows this about me. And I've always said Spencer's never done anything wrong in his life except for what he's done to Trina. And so I'm glad that Spencer like has like said like, yes, I was wrong. Like that was really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like it is not that I don't think Spencer deserves some sort of punishment for his behavior. I just never thought it should be prison, and I never thought that like the adults in his life shouldn't have gotten him like a lawyer. Like that's been a real sticking point for me, and I think when I think through the ways that they could intersect characters better, when I think through what's going to happen in the future, like right now you have this kid who is basically like indebted to Victor. Despite like Laura and Kevin letting him stay with them, which is amazing, like they didn't get him a lawyer either. Sonny didn't. And so I will get into that later about my Sonny hate. Let's not do that now. But my favorite scene, Phyllis dressing Nina down. I mean, it was, for me, I'm a lover of the soap genre. So when I hear people say stuff like such and such is a hypocrite or such and such is whatever, I'm like, yeah, that's what the genre is based on. There's nobody who's not a hypocrite. Even as viewers, like we forgive our faves for like what our faves do. Like Valentine is one of my faves. Valentine's awful. And so like, we forgive based on who we like. And a little bit of the writing. And so I've always been really disappointed with the Nixon Fall storyline because I thought the storyline was so bad. And the whole time I was watching it, I was like, certainly everybody knows this is bad. Like, certainly Nina is about to like catch it from every direction. Because I think that that's like the arc of a sort of like a soap and of a good storyline, which is like some crazy shit happens, and then you catch hell, and then you're redeemed. And the part of Nina catching hell has just never happened for me.
Right.
And that has been like my biggest sticking point with it, is that, yeah, like we sat through 9 months of the storyline. And yeah, sure, Nina was only there for 6. Don't come at me. I know. But like, there was just, people were just like cool with it. How? She's just not, it's not been good. I actually thought Phyllis could have gone further to be like, Nina, you did this crazy shit to keep this man that resulted in like the loss of my bar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Of the thing I shared with my husband. So I just felt like it was a really important point of view from Phyllis that should have come earlier, to be honest. I was a little disappointed. Like she had mentioned like, oh yeah, me and Christina saw whatever happened, or we've been talking about this. And I'm like, why have we never had a scene of Phyllis and Christina? Let me tell you, we could have had a scene of Christina and Phyllis without having to see them at this footbridge. I never need to see this footbridge again. Never. I never need to see it. And so those are like, that was like disappointing to me, but that we didn't see that. But my favorite part obviously was like her just being like, girl, what are you doing? Stay away from this man. Get your shit together. What, like, this is, you are being wild right now. And the juxtaposition between that and like what Ava said to her, like really felt important. That Sonny and Nina can be together. That's clearly like where we're headed, but let's like also talk about how fucked up this was. And that's important to me.
I can attest you were glowing during
I loved it. I loved every part of it. But yeah, the other thing, I mean, we talked about this, I think a little bit last week, but there's something that the writers do that's like, they're trying to like force an audience point of view almost. And so sometimes they don't let things play out. And I think that wanting people to not hate Nina is like, even though what she did is like indefensible, is part of it is like that. That's why we've only heard about it from the point of view of Carly, that we haven't actually seen the point of view of his other kids. It is why I cannot believe that we had this amazing scene from Lexi Ainsworth where she was like so happy to see her dad, and then we have not seen them on screen together again. Or that we haven't seen her have a point of view about this shit with Nina. And I think some of that is because they're like, we have to make Sonny and Nina kind of rootable. And if you actually think about the impacts of what Nina did, like there's no way to make it rootable in the moment. And so they're trying to like take away some of the conflict that they forced. So anyway, I can talk about that forever.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that they're overdoing that because it seems like people just want to root for Nina no matter what. So I'm just like, just go for it, y'all. People are still gonna like Nina.
Sure.
You know, people are still gonna hate Carly. Mm-hmm. Be free. Everyone be crazy.
Get them out of this chaste ass relationship. They have like, all they've done is like have some stolen glances and a kiss. Please get out of here. Please. Go have some sex. Go do something. Go do something that is like interesting to me. Because right now baby Spencer and baby Emma, which I know is not popular, but like they had a more interesting relationship than grown ass Sonny and Nina. The kids, when they had like the little love quad like square, it was like Emma, Spencer, Josh, and baby Cam. That was more interesting to me than what's happening right now between Sonny, Nina, and Carly.
Very controversial for you to bring up the quad.
I know that there's a lot of we're Team Sprina over here, obviously. Anyway, Tonya, tell us who gave us the performance of the week before I get canceled.
Yeah, I do kind of want to add to what you were talking about. I mean, the moment I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have like a pivotal emotional moment, except when I heard Phyllis say, "Oh yeah, I heard from Christina." Mm-hmm. I was pissed. Mm-hmm. I wanted to reach through the television camera and smack the producers or the writers for denying us this scene, not only between Christina and Phyllis, but basically denying us being able to hear from Christina about this whole shenanigans. She needed to be able to talk to her dad about him disappearing and how that affected her. She needed to be able to confront Nina about how she denied her dad. She needed to yell at everybody. She needs to be in the mix, and to have her only interact with the Davis family, as cute and as awesome as that is denying a part of who Christina is. She is also a Corinthos. She needs to be in that mix. And I am super pissed at the writers, at the producers, whoever is making the decision to keep Christina away from this. You are denying Christina her right to have feelings about it, and you're denying the fans the right to see her reaction and to be able to enjoy it.
Preach.
Took us to church.
So,
on this Sunday shift.
I saw the spirit move through you.
That's what pissed me off. So I want to co-sign what you're saying about all of that. We should not have been able to hear that as a passing comment from Phyllis. We should be able to see Christina and interacting with the Corinthos family and dealing with the drama as well. Love Jocelyn being able to be angry and all that good stuff. But again, Jocelyn is the stepdaughter. And not that she's not worthy of being able to have these feelings and these thoughts, but Christina and Sonny are close. So we should be able to see that.
I mean, Joss is my girl, obviously. I love Joss. And Joss didn't lose like a parent in the process in the way that Christina did. Joss still had a dad. So I'm not like
Exactly.
discounting how important Sunny is and was to
Oh,
Josh, but Josh calls him Sunny. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Christina, like that's her dad that she was denied. And we
right.
also aren't seeing like the fallout of your dad basically bringing his Nixon Falls life back to you. So like him buying Phyllis a bar is him like, this is like this whole thing. I had said something when Sunny was like, that was Mike, this is me. Okay, but Sunny, you have Mike's feelings. You are trying to recreate the magic of what you had as Mike, and you're like throwing that in your daughter's lap. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we just don't hear anything about it.
Yeah, she doesn't get to react. She doesn't get to have feelings about it, or at least we don't get to see it. Phyllis does. And I just think it would be cool to see Phyllis and Christina interact. Have a scene of Christina showing her how to run the bar, or maybe Phyllis teaching her a couple things, that kind of thing. That would have been fun and lighthearted. I would have enjoyed that.
And it helps like also incorporate, if they're trying to bring some of that, it incorporates like the Mike into Sunny. That like somebody who was really important to Mike is now in like good relationship with somebody who is important to Sunny. I think that would be like really valuable. And we're also, I mean, there's like a very weird thing that I'm tracking with Christina, because even when we had Harmony at the bar and she said to Alexis, like, oh, you probably wanted to see Christina here. If you knew Christina was working here, Harmony, why would you show up? Like, what's going on? Anyway, we're getting off.
We don't even get to see that either. Anyway. Yeah. I guess to the point, best performance. Now, I didn't, like I said, having Luke's death did not move me that much, but it was grateful to see all the old heads come. In particular, and this is my winner for the week, Jane Elliott. Not because Tracy impacted everybody by showing up, not only just dealing with the loss of Luke. She impacted other people's storylines. She impacted all the Luke folks. She impacted Maxie and her shenanigans, because now they're worried that Tracy's going to find out about Wheezy. She impacted Alexis and Sam by showing that back in town and not having done her penance for what she did to Alexis back in the day. And even to a small degree, she's impacting Olivia and Ned's marriage. So she has great impact, great fallout just by her showing up. And she's giving great performances. And we're enjoying her finding out and wanting to know what's up. Love it. Love her being back on the scene. So she's my winner for the week.
Yes.
I also, just want to give a shout out. I mean, Felicia being back is cool. It's great that they're kind of moving the forward, that trying to find Wheezy. I'm gonna call her Wheezy forever. And the Sunny Carly scenes were great. Particularly the ones on Friday. But again, I just did not get the emotional payoff from the storyline moving forward as I wanted. And so Jane Elliott did it for me. I do want to give an honorable mention to Olivia's red dress and coat combo, because that was awesome. And I'm wearing this color in honor of the dress because it was amazing. And the way she kept flipping the coat and all this other stuff, she knew she looked good. She knew it. It was like a character in the story. It was great. I loved it. So thank you, Olivia and her dressing team, because that dress was awesome. I wish I could wear it, but I can wear this color. And so I'm doing that. Yes.
Shout out to Olivia. I feel like Lisa brings wardrobe from home because she never misses. Never. Just amazing.
Never.
Mm-hmm. Never. Any other performances that, obviously we, Ava and Sprina and them were great too.
Yeah, they were great.
I think Tracy coming back in town really impacted the whole show the most.
Yeah.
I love me a Tracy, my namesake. And whew, Because I think that the beautiful thing about Jane Elliott is that she weaves in like these really great moments in the middle of doing so much other stuff. When she handed Kevin back that coffee, that's just, she was like, this is horrible.
This is nasty. This is horrible. Thank you.
Thank you.
She's like, thank you, but
Dismissed, Kevin. Get out of here. Like, or when she was like imitating Monica, like, it's my house, and I was like, it was like when she like was coming for Alexis, she was like, what did she say? Did you sleep your way to the top or whatever?
Yeah, she was like, you only got this job by failing up, or was it sleeping at the top? I didn't catch it. I was like, that whole scene, I was just like this. I was delighted. I was horrified. Everything you should feel when Tracy Q is in a scene.
And it also reminds you what a Quartermain should be.
Yes.
You know, like that I think has been a little bit of what we talked about is like the misses with BLQ.
Yep.
Tracy reminds you, and Tracy do not like Brooklyn. That cracks me up. Like,
Right?
is that your grandchild?
She's like, no, it's not. Why are you pretending to have this child? You know, just like,
or should I call you Wheezy?
If she calls that child Wheezy on the television, I will die.
I'll faint.
And I will go to heaven because it would be amazing.
But it's got to be the combo of Wheezy face on, because that shit takes me out every time. Like Wheezy was already like made me laugh a little bit, but Wheezy face on is just like, it elevates me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's what I need it to be. Especially because I love that baby. All the screen caps, I'm like, we are tracking this baby. I don't want any other babies playing Wheezy. This is the one.
Right. Yes, baby has a mean mug like I have never seen. The commitment to character from this baby. This baby makes more choices than some of the.
This baby makes more choices than Marcus.
Not one. That's who I was talking about.
I'm gonna call him out every time.
I'm just in a good mood because of Sprina. So I'm sure by the end of the episode, I'm going to be slandering Marcus like crazy.
Oh, I'm definitely slandering Marcus.
To the kid actors, like little Avery. Avery's like, where's dad? When's he coming back? Why? I mean, like, yeah. And you know, and then little, you know, Wiley having conversations. I mean, just all
Wiley grown now.
Right. I do miss snacking Wiley though, still. I'll always love that other Wiley that didn't give a shit about anything but snacks. I identify with that.
That Wiley, like people will be talking to him and be like, where are my cookies? Okay. And same. That's me on calls all day. Whatever y'all talking about, I need my cookies.
Well, especially when your scene partners are Michael and Willow. Give me my cookies. I don't care about this. Oh my God.
Like, why don't my parents have chemistry? Anyway, sorry. What is this?
Oh yeah, we're supposed to be. Oh, what do we want to see more of?
Apparently, we want to see more of these kids more than we do their parents.
Oh, at the same time, I want less kids. I want to see more of the ones that we have, but maybe not all of them. But anyway.
Wait, because you remember that ELQ had that condom malfunction, which is how we got Jake and how Lulu got pregnant. So I think they need a reverse of that. Maybe bring the Superior Jack's brother back, and like nobody can have babies for like a certain time. Like I've had enough of babies on this campus.
Okay, the reproductive justice person is me.
I'm
like,
sorry.
Have a mass sterilization storyline, please. Thank you.
You looked horrified. I'm sorry. It just needs to be something. A moratorium on babies.
Yes. Okay. So let's get it.
Sorry. Go ahead,
Sandra. What do you want to see more of?
It's not babies. I actually related. I want to see more of like these vets driving intergenerational storylines, and that intergenerational storylines that aren't about custody, paternity, or stealing babies. I know it's a lot to ask y'all, but that's what I want to see more of. And I am glad that they brought Felicia and Anna into the baby swap storyline, because it does need some grounding. Mm-hmm. like the current the canvas of characters that were involved in that prior were just not, they can't pull it off. And so I appreciate that, but I also I'm happy for all the vets returning with this Luke storyline, even though I don't care about Luke being dead. Tracy, like, you know, he's like similar, he's dead to me. He was dead to me before he left the canvas, but anyway. But I appreciate the opportunity to bring vets back and to like feature existing vets in a more meaningful way. Like, this is the first time Bobby's been giving point of view about something that wasn't about Carly, or about like someone else's storyline. And again, I hate Luke. We'll talk more about this later. But when Bobby called his phone and said, "Luke, it's your sister, Barbara Jean," I definitely got a little weepy. Oh. Like, I was like, oh, Barbara Jean. I haven't heard that in so long. And so even though I don't care for Luke, and I think it's like kind of an interesting story choice that I'm curious to see like what they're gonna do with this. I do actually hope that Luke is just dead because Anthony's never coming back. And nor do I want him to. But I appreciate it's also an opportunity for like the vets to come back, reflect on their relationship with him, reflect on their relationships with each other, and then get fed into whatever's going on with this Cassadine storyline. So I'm excited for the possibility, and I'm also excited for them to interact more with the younger actors. And I think that what we started to see with the Stalker storyline and like having that be an intergenerational storyline is going to be like even more woven in now that Peter might possibly, you know, get off, and what does that mean for Cameron and Liz and their family. And like, I can just see the interconnectedness more and more with bringing these vets on. And also shout out to like Leslie Charlson, like seeing more of her. Even excited to like see Mac do something that wasn't related to Maxie. Like, I'm just happy it feels just more like General Hospital. And I think Days is doing a really great job of this with the possession storyline. And so I think it's in like another nod to something I think Tracy talks about a lot, which is like nostalgia and how well that is selling right now.
Mm. Yeah, I was like frantically looking at my notes because like I basically had almost everything you said, so I won't repeat it. Like, that is amazing and see it. But the other thing is, let me just talk about how problematic I am for a second. I want to see more Shawn. My thirst for Shawn knows no bounds. I am problematic and a hypocrite because I'm always like, dismantle patriarchy, fuck that, fuck men. And then I was like, Shawn, a man. Every time I see him. So I want to see more Shawn. I love the messiness. That look he gave Ava when he was like leaving the Metro Court, it was like, drop that zero, get with this hero over here. I appreciate it. I loved it. And I just want to see, I actually really love the busybody Ava and Victor energy, just like going everywhere and like sprinkling their mess on other people's stories, you know, like just like showing up at the hospital, showing up at the Metro Court, showing up at Deception, showing up at Crimson. Like, I actually really like that for both of them. Sometimes that makes it hard for like Ava, for example, to have a point of view. But it also takes Ava away from Nicholas, and I hate that pairing. So it's just really good, and I love seeing them kind of busybody around town. So I'll stop with that. Tonya, what do you want to see more?
I was about to say another reason why Viva is so compatible.
Yes, that's right. Tonya, what about you?
I definitely want. Ava mentioned in her conversation that the reason why Trina was going to be the boss of Spencer's because she's taking time away. I don't want that to happen. I actually want Ava to be in the gallery and causing some mess when Spencer's there. Because that would be super entertaining to me. I want to see her witnessing the penance. I'm also curious about some of the things that are being hinted at in the future. Is Sasha gonna relapse? That I mean, she not that I don't like I want her to see her relapse, but I think she's got so much trauma right now that it wouldn't be surprising. But even if she doesn't relapse, I definitely want to see them talk about how this is impacting her sobriety, if anything. That her hand shaking really did seem like she was about to, instead of just put on her lipstick, actually pop a pill or something, because it was very, traumatic. And then also, what's going on with Esmeralda and prescriptions? What's she gonna do? Where's she going with this? I mean, what? She better not be trying to, direct that at Trina. So
Trina's auntie showing up like, I don't know what's happening here.
Right. That's just like, I used to do some funny stuff. Like I write myself into the story. Like I would roll through and yell at somebody. That's probably what I want to do. I just roll through GH and be like, girl, no. Take those prescriptions back. You already caused enough trouble. This is not how you hold on to your man. Actually, wouldn't that be funny? If just one of us just rolled through and be like, listen here, girl. This is
Here's the problem. I would roll through in this jacket and I would do it.
You would be like the Kermit, the hooded Kermit. In the hooded leopard print.
I'd be like, this is definitely not how you hold on to your man, so do it. Give some to Cam too.
Well, she's trying to give something to Kim.
Oh, she is.
Sweet Simple came through and I said,
she's trying to get Cam to give something to her. She wants that angry Cam.
Right?
It's intriguing.
I mean, I'm surprised Joss wasn't paying more attention to that. I mean, she was right in the middle of it and they were just giving off some vibes and I would have been like
per usual, Joss cares more about what's going on with Trina than she does with Cam. Right? And it's one of my favorite things about her.
Because in that scene, Joss had her hand on Cam and it's still like she was on Esme and Cam's date.
Right. It was third wheeling. She was third wheeling that conversation. It's crazy.
Damn, Cam, I never knew you had it in you. I've never seen you look at someone like that before. Good for you, but your girlfriend's right here. It was some Spencer Cassidy level of disrespect.
It was.
And I loved it.
And I loved it. I definitely loved it. Yeah.
It was, yeah. I did like the scenes, and I think Will is just recovering from surgery. So shout out. Oh my God, he looks so adorable in his hospital photo.
He did.
Yeah, he did. He actually looked younger than his actual character.
He did. I've never disliked him, but I just never have paid a lot of attention to him. And so I heard the interview was William, Avery, and Eden on the chat. And so it was the first time I'd ever heard William really talking. And Sandra could attest. I was like, oh, he's one of my kids now. I like him. He was very sweet. One of the things they asked him about, because I've always said Lucky is Cam's dad too. And so they asked him if he thought he would how he would feel about Lucky coming back and talking to Cam, so he'd be interested in that. especially like Jonathan Jackson's lucky because of like the music connection.
Yeah.
And so it was like very cute about like how much history he knew of the show, which I thought was like really interesting. So anyway, yes. I was like, Sweet Simple about to step into his bag, huh? His Esme bag.
So what do you want to see less of, Tracy?
Jason. I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I hate it. This is when you know a character took up too much space on the canvas, that we literally are hearing about somebody grieving him every day. That man was not a hero. He was an aging murderer. Like, it's just, who didn't even know how to mentor the next generation. Jason had no interns or nothing. Like, I am tired of it. I don't want. I'm tired of it. I do not want to hear anybody else talking about Jason and like trying to insert him into Brit's story. Stop. Because like we actually like the thing that made Jason and Brit like even feel like they could stick, or like that there was like a reason to grieve him in this way, was like the Huntington's connection. And we haven't even heard anything about Brit's Huntington's. So why are we hearing about Jason from her all the time? I understand that like the Nina, Sunny, Carly quad was supposed to include Jason, and so they have to keep inserting him. But Sunny with that gaslighting shit, like, well, you know about falling in love, but you fell in love with Jason. Jason's dead. Let him stay buried.
I actually,
dead.
I did like that he threw that out, because Carly keeps acting like she already having an emotional affair herself. So,
sure. And I hate Sunny, so
she didn't lie about it.
No, she didn't lie about it. She has every right to be upset, but I liked how Olivia was like, so
I'm
are you
fine about it from Olivia.
Yeah. Like, yes. Are you being honest about your feelings about Jason? Are you like, I like people reminding Carly that she's also in an emotional relationship with someone else too.
But he did.
I don't mind it, but
and let him stay dead.
Yes, he needs to stay dead.
Well, let's talk about Sunny's emotional affair with Jason. I mean, that's anyway. Why am I even getting into this? I don't care.
Yeah, well, yeah. Why are we? Let's see. We're giving him space in our head too. We need to. In this conversation.
I just am tired of having to talk about him as he's the hero every day. Like, it's enough. I'm over it. And then the other thing is, I'm tired of them treating Phyllis like Ayanla. Like, Phyllis is not here to treat you. Even though this is a contradictory. I love my favorite moment was like Phyllis coming in and reading the fuck out of Nina. She's not here to fix your life. Let's give Phyllis something to do that is not that. I had like said something about wishing that she was connected to the Ward family. And somebody was like, oh, well, we can have more than one Black family, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but then she wouldn't have any airtime. Like, I would love for her to like be a part of building up this like legacy family, like the General Hospitals account, like drop some stuff about like Mary May and all of that. And I was like, damn, we don't have any Wards on canvas at all. And it would be really cool to see Phyllis like have some connection to the history of Port Charles, so she can stop being just like the sounding board for Sunny and Nina's relationship. So that's what I got about what I want to see less of. What about you, Tonya?
I guess what I have to just say again, I want to see less of these conversations about Christina and more Christina.
Yep. Period.
That's it.
I'll just play that sermon again when we're done.
Great, thanks.
Like, oh Lord. So along a similar vein, I would like to see less of this Corinthos brand of male toxicity. I'm tired of it. So I'll start with my little addendum, which is that I am obviously a Cassinine shipper. Like, most of my favorite pairings are half Cassinine. This is of no surprise to anyone who knows me at all. So I'm not immune to toxicity. I enjoy toxic attraction and dynamics as much as the next soap viewer. And I really think I was like kind of doing an assessment in my head of like, do I like any like healthy pairings? And I will say Kevlar is my only one that I can think of. And even they have their issues. I guess like Sante. Yeah, Sante. But you know, Sam's like a Cassadine, but not, right?
Right.
But with the like with Sprina and Vanna, which are like my top ships and are also like the top Cassadine ships, like I think there is that dynamic that could very easily be toxic, right? Of the, you know, the good woman reforming the bad man. And what I appreciate about both of these storylines is that it's really more about the Cassadine men being inspired to step into a better version of themselves, but not being about the active labor of Trina and Anna like reforming them. So like they're setting the standard, and then like Spencer and Valentine have to figure out how they're going to meet that and still be authentic to who they are. And that's like a lot of the tension in the relationship. And I love that kind of dynamic. So for me, the Corinthos toxicity feels more like insidious. And I think there's a lot of gaslighting happening. And I'm speaking most specifically about Sunny and Michael. Sunny's gaslighting and lying to Carly is so triggering. Like I just, in that last Friday scene alone, there were so many lines where I was just like, he said what? And this is as someone who doesn't care about the storyline. Like I was like, who? When he told Carly to stop hurting herself, my God. To move forward, you have to forget, sir, don't tell her what she needs to do to move forward.
Right.
It sounds like to move, like for you to move forward, you would like for her to forget. Do we have to do this? Yes, you do have to talk this through, sir. Like it's putting so much onus on her not having any reaction at all. And this is Caroline. Like, who do you think you married? When he said this wasn't me in Nixon Falls, that was Mike, but that was you that was with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
You knew about Jason. You knew about how things were between them. And also, she was honest. More honest than you were about what was happening while you were gone. And of course, I think the creme de la creme of awful things he said was, am I just wasting my time trying to work things out with her? Sir, this is like all coming out of the Gaslighter's Handbook.
Gaslighters, yeah.
Like, shit, you fucked up. How do you want to gaslight your woman into shutting the fuck up? And yeah, like Carly is toxic. I'll be one of the first people to say that. And she is also like, I think there's a whole other conversation to be had about the ways that Carly upholds patriarchy. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have that conversation sometime, just not right now. And then on top of that, just to be fair, because I am a Libra, I think Sunny gives really fucked up mixed messages to Nina.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away. But I can change my mind at any time.
Right.
And like reminiscing and the protecting of her actually puts her in harm's way. He is making like all the decisions that he's making around protecting his relationship with Carly while also trying to protect Nina is actually putting them both in more harmful situations. And so who better than to teach toxicity to Michael than Sunny? And so like, let's talk about Michael and Willow.
Let's.
Extensively about how boring I find them to be. You know, we all know they're white bread, they're mayonnaise, and they always will be. But like, also this week I was like scared for Willow, to be honest. Because in their relationship, there's like actually no room for dissent. And that feels actually much more Corinthos than Quartermaine. Like with the Corinthos family, if you break rank, that's a betrayal. And we saw that happen with the way that Carly snapped on Willow. And she took it back because Michael pushed against her. But we know that's going to happen again. And so with the Quartermaines, it's actually a rite of passage to dissent, right? Like, if you're not dissenting, if you're not actually advocating for your own interests or like your own angle at some point or another, like, can you even be a Quartermaine? And it doesn't mean that you are suddenly everyone's enemy, right? So I feel like that was part of the reason why Harmony's comment to Michael was so important this week. Like, she didn't need to know the details to know that it's important that Willow's instincts and opinions as a parent, but also as a partner, should be important to Michael. And his response felt so manipulative. Oh, if I didn't value Willow's opinion, you wouldn't be standing here after what you did to Christy, which he's allowed to be upset about what happened to Christina. Absolutely. I like Harmony. And I'm not interested in her just being blanket forgiven or people forgetting what she did at all. That's actually like one of the things I am interested in her character is that she does have consequences. But that he would say that just shows that you don't trust Willow's judgment. That you would weaponize your supposed trust against her only remaining family member. Like, Michael represents family and belonging to Willow. And as someone who was betrayed and abandoned by her family, by Harmony, by her father in some ways, and then brainwashed by a cult, like a sense of family and belonging can be like the ultimate motivation. And so it's just made more complicated. Like, I think Harmony is not the ideal person to deliver this message to Willow. That's like something that got brought up, like, who is Harmony to be intervening in this way? But here's the thing. Willow doesn't have anybody in her life except Harmony to deliver that message. Who's going to do it? Her or Chase? Because those are literally the only two people in Willow's life that would choose Willow over Michael in a dispute.
Yep.
Think about that. That's dangerous, especially for someone who's recovering from being brainwashed. And Michael has two large, powerful, extremely, like, extraordinarily rich families behind him. And so, like, that feels like a very clear parallel dynamic. And so when you are recovering from being brainwashed, you're in a relationship with a very powerful man, and your only two people who are there for you unconditionally are the person who brainwashed you in the first place and your ex-boyfriend. I don't like that. Like, if GH is trying to set up a storyline about like the subtleties of abuse, great, you're doing a great job. But if you're not going to name it for what it is, I have a problem with that.
I don't know if GH has the range to do that. Like, I nothing that has been written by these set of writers, I mean, ever really, but nothing that's been written makes me think that that's a deliberate thing. Yeah. Like, it just does not feel like that to me. And what you named about like Michael's two powerful sets of families is, I think, the thing that's always bothered me about the Nell storyline at the end, where they like the courtroom. I'm like, in what world? Like, y'all are buying judges all the fucking time. You know what I'm saying? So you're telling me that it actually makes the idea that Willow and Michael had to be married for him to get custody of Wiley even more silly. And that's one of those moments where, as a soap fan, like, sure, I maybe will come along with you, but you got to like explain to me why. That's one of those moments that was like, there was nothing ever explained as to like why it was ever a thought that Nell would get any kind of custody of of Wiley over Michael. It just never made sense. And then I think that there's also been this conversation about harmony that I've seen a little bit on the timeline. I will say this: when you mute Carly and Sona and a bunch of these other things, you get some really amazing content on your like Twitter timeline. But there was this conversation about like harmony and like how abusive she is and like, you know, whatever. And similar to like, you know, when I said something wild about like reproductive justice and you see Sandra's face, like, what the fuck? That's actually how I feel about like prisons being used as like consequences for things. Like there's just like no way to, as a viewer, separate like my personal feelings for that. And so like I really deeply believe in redemption, and I think that we have seen like this redemption arc for harmony. Like it is, I would have had a big problem if they would have just like brain tumored her like they did Franco.
Yes.
Right? Like, or that like we're actually seeing she turned on Shiloh because she in a lot of the ways was like brainwashed too. So it's like when abusers like participate in abuse. So like she turned on Shiloh. She's done nothing but try to make amends to Willow. She's like working this job. She's like alone. You know what I'm saying? Like we are seeing like real consequences from her that are not the same as like the redemption that we've seen of men where there's just been nothing that they've had to do. So both of those things like really, really stick out to me with what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in the end, it's like, I would never expect any of the characters that she's harmed to be okay with her. Right. And it's also like, it is up to Willow. And I think it's like another place where Michael, like, I actually, you know, and I know Chase also had his own intervention with Harmony. Was that the birthday party? Well, it was the Wiley's birthday party. It was the sexy birthday party.
I hate it.
And like, I think I also, you know, I prefer Chase. I think in that situation, I've been a Chase apologist. But what I will say is that I think Chase undermined Willow's agency there too, and has undermined her agency when he did this whole stupid fake affair. I mean, that's, you know, absolutely. But it's like a lot of it is also just like the power dynamics too.
Yeah.
And I think with Harmony, that's like an example of like, someone who not only like, you know, went to prison, did their time, whatever, but also is like still in the midst of her redemption arc. Like,
right. Mm-hmm.
She's like, the only place where I can get a job is out of prison with other misfits. And I liked her being like a little bitter on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I actually needed to see her be a little bit petty and a little impatient with Willow, because I needed to see that like she's still struggling and she's actually not just gonna be this like all of a sudden turned around perfect character.
Right. I would also say, and then I'm sorry, because Tonya, if you had anything, I would also say the difference. I mean, Chase apologist here, but I think that Chase undermined Willow for sure. But I think a little bit of the difference is that Harmony showed up to that birthday party like unannounced. Right. And so it was like this, like, I'm stepping in to like be like, no, you're not doing this to my wife. While that's not my brand of anything, because I don't do that shit to me. Like I got it in a different way than Willow is actually making the choice to allow Harmony back in her life, and Michael is undermining that choice. Yeah. And so I felt like that was a little different. Not in the sense that it was like okay, but like in the sense of power.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like the power dynamics are so different, because Chase, you know, he is a cop and that is like a level of power, but like she's living in Michael's house, making next to no money at a job we never see her at, raising Michael's biological son, who he let her adopt. And of course he doesn't frame it that way, but he wouldn't hesitate to in a custody battle. I'll tell you that much.
I'm sure we'll see it.
Like, what he was willing to do to Nell, you know, it's all about framing. And then of course, like Nell, I'm not a Nell apologist. I love Nell to be exactly as crazy as she was, and I will forever stand by the fact that she was Michael's best pairing. But you know, there's always something about like you see how your current partner treated their last partner in conflict, even when that other person was wrong. So I just have never really cared about Willow, but this week I was like, "Ooh, honey, like she's the character I would nominate who most needs a safety plan."
That's very striking, though, that you mentioned that the only people that she can count on is her mom and her ex. I feel like they definitely need to give her a friend.
Yeah.
And I think they were, I don't know what they were trying to do with the whole sister thing with Joss, but she needs friends outside of that family.
Because Nell was Joss's sister too.
Joss was her ass on the pair.
Yeah, that's how Nell got in, was through Joss, I think. So she needs outside friends. She needs outside interests.
Which she has. Like, that's the thing. Like, and this is like another thing about the hospital. Right. But that's another thing about the hospital never being featured. That I actually was saying I would like to see like a Willow Elizabeth friendship, like in a mentorship kind of thing. Because it would allow Elizabeth, like, I mean, obviously Piff is head nurse and that's what it is. But like, let's see Elizabeth like stepping into some power at work too. She's been a nurse for a while. She should like be senior. We saw her get demoted. Let's see her get promoted. And having like some like it would make sense for Willow to be friends and find some like companionship and community with the hospital folks. And we've never seen that. We saw when Sasha was in the hospital, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna stop by and check my schedule." But we never seen Willow at work. And I wrote something about this, but we met Willow as a teacher. And then, because of Nina, like she ended up like going to work at the hospital with kids at the hospital, and then she was a nurse. And we didn't even see her integrated in the Leo storyline. It was just like a huge miss to have somebody who's been like an elementary school teacher, like miss what was happening with Leo, not take up for Austin, who she supposedly is like working with. We just don't see it. But again, I just don't think GH has the range to be setting up that kind of story. But, you know, it would be interesting if they were.
I do think it's interesting, like the way that Nell and Willow were like foils for each other. Even like that kind of switch where folks were expecting Willow to be Nina's child and it was actually Nell, which I hope isn't, you know, I am still a Willow Nina,
that would have been a lot more
birther truther or something. I don't know what that is, but I mother and daughter. But there is something about that, like they chose, one of the reasons why Willow was chosen to be Wiley's mom is because she is nothing, quote unquote, nothing like Nell. So I think the parallel that, like, you know, our foils are also people that we have things in common with.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
What a conversation you struck up. I'm really interested in talking more about this. Not today, but
I'm sure they'll give us more opportunity.
The Corinthos cult.
Yep. So with that, let's talk about some more toxicity.
Let's talk about some more toxicity. So obviously, like, trigger warning if this, we're going to be talking about like the origins of Luke and Laura and their story. And so if you don't want to like watch that, which is completely understandable, like this is the moment to skip over. And I will put in if you're on YouTube, I'll put in the next thing, like, you know, the time skip, so you can skip this section. So obviously, like, they're setting up this like maybe Luke is dead situation. And one of the things that was really striking to me is like how the timeline was like, fuck Luke. And people were like, y'all are just saying that. You wouldn't have been saying that in the 90s. And it's like, yeah, no, we probably wouldn't have. Like, times have changed and the ways that we like indict characters have changed. There was also a Johnny Wachter interview where he kind of was like, he wanted for him and his character and the character of Sasha to be like the next Luke and Laura. And so people were like, yeah, right, yeah, right, dude. And for me, it wasn't even like a yeah, right, because I don't think that Sasha and Brando like have potential. I mean, they're never shown, which is sad because I think they're a good couple. But it was also like we should maybe indict how we see super couples, because if you think back to the ones that we talk about the most, they have had the most toxic relationships, because in order so couples like break up, make up, break up, make up. And so a lot of that ends up being like super toxic in the cycle of happening. And so we wanted to like not revisit the original rape storyline, but we wanted to revisit Lucky finding out about it, which was like the 90s way of like trying to explain away what happened, or to give Luke some like to like address the fact that like the most famous soap super couple started with like a rape. And so we like, if you actually, there was like an AP article that came out during the time in the 90s where they were trying to address the storyline, and the way they told it, which was really interesting. And we have posted this before. I'll post it again. It was an interview with Jeannie Francis, that Jeannie and Laura were not on the canvas when they retold the story. And Jeannie was not consulted at all about it. And so it ended up just really being a storyline for Tony Geary. Mm-hmm. And so Jonathan Jackson's Lucky was in, like, this is like the beginning of his relationship with Elizabeth, where he had found her, she had been assaulted in the park. He was like supporting her through that. And then Nicholas was like, well, why are you doing this? Your dad's a rapist. And this is before he actually had a good relationship with Nicholas. And so Lucky goes and he's like trying to find this out. Like he goes to the hospital, looks up Laura's medical records. He also then like catches Scott Baldwin, and it was actually the introduction of Scott Baldwin to Lucky, because he runs up on Scott Baldwin at a diner having breakfast, and he's like, "I'm Lucky Spencer," and Scott's like, "I'm aware of who you are." And he like asks Scott like what happened, and Scott won't give him a straight answer. And so he goes and he asks Luke about it, and Luke gives like this, Tony Geary gives like very clearly a monologue that was written to like be Emmy bait. Like it was like super clear. And it was like all his point of view of like his assault of Laura. And then after that, Jonathan Jackson's Lucky like moves out. So like this is like the kind of break in their family relationship. And then when Laura returns to the canvas, because it was like she had to leave because of like safety or something like that, so she returns, and Jonathan Jackson's Lucky is really like awful to her, very, very blamey. It was actually really hard to watch back how awful he was, and I was like, is this the way they thought that was like the best retelling of this story? So yeah, I wanted to just frame that up as like a way to talk about kind of like the legacy of super couples, the legacy of Luke and Laura. Like, what do y'all think about that versus like then versus now? I know, Sandra, I think that you were watching and you found out about the rape the same kind of time that Lucky did. So I'd love to hear about that. And then Tonya, as a longtime viewer, because I wasn't watching yet, you know, like I would love to hear from y'all what y'all think about these things.
Yeah, I watched the episode at the time. It was a long time ago, and I did feel that, you know, Lucky was definitely out of pocket and was definitely victim blaming, all of that, and it was very jarring to see that. And I was actually pissed off at Lucky for a long time for the way he treated his mom. Yeah, I think it's interesting if you look at it from the couple aspect. A lot of the long-term soap opera couples are hecka problematic, because they go through a lot of stuff that would normally in the real world would have been like, okay, I'm done with you, I'm going to find somebody more stable. Because in the real world, happy relationships aren't interesting on television. So you're bringing in drama in order to keep viewers, but in actuality they aren't good relationships that we should celebrate at all. If you look at Victor and Nikki Newman, I mean, Victor accuses her of being a slut half the time, but then he's in love with another woman, Ashley Abbott or Hope or whoever else, but yet she keeps coming back to him, and he's super toxic as a dad, and yet she defends him all the time. It's like these really long-term longevity super couples aren't couples that we should really look up to, but at the same time it makes them compelling and people want to watch and see what happens next. So it's hard to kind of really judge them on a standard of what it should be acceptable in a real world relationship when real world relationships aren't compelling to watch.
Right. Some soaps.
And a lot of the toxicity that exists in soap opera couples also exist in different ways in real life relationships. And I think that's part of the thing is like, what do we internalize from these toxic relationships that we also take back to our relationships, and how are they also modeled off of expectations of toxic relations? Like it's like this like never ending
cycle. Yeah. I mean, anything on I think people said fiction isn't really fiction. It's just a re-representation of what happens in real life. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. I didn't know anything about Luke and Laura before they came back in the 90s, right? Because I wasn't born when their storyline was still going on. So, and back then it's like what was on. And I was young when they came back, because they came back in the early 90s. So I was a child. And so all this, my context for them coming back was like, I knew Anthony Geary as Bill Eckert. And then they killed off Bill. And of course, we know he later comes on back for Luke's exit storyline. But, Bill died, and all of a sudden he came back as Luke. And I was like, Mom, who's this guy?
I like how you're like, Mom.
What's going on, Mom?
You're watching with Mom.
Who the fuck is Luke? And so, then she explained to me like, oh, Luke and Laura, da-da-da-da-da. But but she didn't explain to me. And there's this controversial thing where he raped her, because also I don't think she was also seeing the storyline in that way either. Mm-hmm. And so I found out what Lucky did. And I was like, oh, well, fuck that. Like, I think especially as someone who was following Liz and Lucky, and like they were really like that teen scene was like my anchor as a young person on the show. And so I actually, it was very easy for me to say, yuck, Luke and Laura, I'm not into it. And so there's something that I actually really grateful for, not ever really caring that much about Luke and Laura, and like finding out in the same way that Lucky did. But it did make me really like, I think, over identify with Lucky and his point of view. I don't remember him like being that awful. So when I actually went back and rewatched a lot of this arc when I was preparing the Nicholas entering the canvas deep dive, and I had to turn it off. I was like, this is actually way too triggering. It's all about the men in her life's point of view.
Yeah.
I couldn't get through Anthony Geary's speech to Lucky. I made it about not even halfway through, and I was like, I don't need this shit. This is nasty.
It's pretty long.
I don't need this like detailed description from your point of view of raping Laura. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that it was like whatever a lot was put into it, a survivor wrote it. I hope that was healing for you. It was not for me. And so like going back and watching even the way that Lucky found out from Nicholas was like he had actually been goading Nicholas about being the product of rape.
Mm-hmm.
And had been for a while, and then Nicholas snapped on him. And so there's even like between her sons who have both treated Laura very horribly at that time, we're also even using what arguably was sexual assault on both of their fathers as like a to weaponize their their connection. And so like there's just so many things about this is such an iconic story. It's such an important story for so many characters, and the two women at the center of the story, which I would say would be Laura and Liz. I understand why it was important in the 90s, but it's just like setting this tone around sexual assault that's really about the men in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think for Liz, for making her a quote unquote likable character and a redeemable character, when I think she was actually just fine as she was.
I'm thinking about how interesting it is for us to critique the story now, knowing how less tolerant of sexual assault, patriarchy we are in these times versus when the story came out. And how it when I was watching it, I probably wasn't thinking about how it's so focused on the male point of view. The only thing I was focused on was how disrespectful Lucky was to Laura. And that's part of my upbringing, in the sense that a child was not supposed to be disrespectful to the parent regardless, no matter, because what's going on with the parent. I guess I kind of had that same mantra with that Laura was saying, this happened between us. This is not about you. But at the same time, it is a little bit about him, but he still, I think, acted in a way that was disrespectful to his parents. But that's because that's how I've been trained as a child, not to be all up in my parents' business like that. And it's nothing to do with me. But now that I'm looking back on it, and now I have a different viewpoint, especially at this time, it's really interesting. Like I didn't rewatch that with you all, and I probably wouldn't want to rewatch it because it would probably be too traumatic. And now I'm at a place where I'm not really interested in looking at trauma for entertainment anymore.
Yeah.
Like now we're in an interesting renaissance where we're showing a lot about what happened to African Americans, Black Americans in America, and I can't watch that. I know the stories. I'm glad I know what happened, but I can't watch it. I don't want to watch the rehashing of Emmett Till's death. It would be very traumatic. And it happened this week. I was like, I can't, And so I don't want to relive the story of how Laura was raped right now, even if to study it, just to kind of get commentary. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's just interesting. I'm just kind of taking myself outside of myself as how we're reacting to the story now versus how the audience reacted to it back then and what they thought about it back then.
Yeah. And I didn't rewatch the rape. I could never. I just could never. And Sandra didn't rewatch this with me either.
It's not the rape, but the fallout with
she didn't even I think she watched Sandra watched it with the Nicholas deep dive, but not this time.
But I'm wondering, did they show the rape back then, or was it really because I remember when Luke was telling this story, they kind of redid the scenes kind of in a flashback mode, but I was even wondering when it actually had supposed to happen. Did we see all that?
I don't know. I've never rewatched it.
Right. It'd be interesting to hopefully some of the fans who are following, who may have been alive and watched the show back then, it would be interesting to find out if they actually showed those scenes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there was like a fade to black situation, and it was kind of like implied.
Okay.
But then there's also like there's a whole storyline about her reporting it. Like there's layers to it. I think we don't want to get into deeply. Because I definitely like, I feel you. I'm not interested in doing a detailed deep dive into it. I think it is really more about like contextualizing the relationship and like the different ways that it's been seen. And I think what you said is right. Like there wasn't much of this analysis. I know there were people who had issues with it at the time. I know there had to have been, because they're also like, it had to have brought up stuff for people, regardless if they had the language for it.
Yeah. Or the platform to talk about it, or to like, we are so interconnected now, like we can talk about it. And I think that like, that is why when, even with the deep dive, like it was really, I really wanted to talk more about how they tried to address it. It's like this thing happened in like the late 70s, before we were alive. And then they were like, oh, it's the 90s now, we're better. Let's like readdress it. Let's like relitigate it. And then even the relitigation was fucked up.
Right.
And so something I like wrote when I was like thinking about it, I was like, rape was really used. Rape has been used in like as a plot point to like humble women. And so it was used to humble Elizabeth. She even said, like, before that night, I was a rebellious teenager. And like now, because I think that we like know that might not be the way, that's like a really fucked up way to like humble anyone. That like now the way to humble people is like problems with their kids. So I wrote down, now I've lost it. Oh, like, so Carly needs to be humbled. Okay, we about to kill Morgan. Or like have a health situation with Joss. Ava needs to be humbled. We about to kill Kiki. Like she needs a redemption. Okay, we're gonna kill her kid. Elizabeth needs to be humbled because like if you think about like the time frame, so I have never seen Elizabeth's character as somebody rootable because of where I came into the storyline. So like watching back like some of the OG like stuff with Elizabeth, I'm like, oh, I get like the fandom now. Because when I started watching, it was when she was like married to Rick and like it was like defending him after the panic room situation. And then we went into like, okay, so then I like was like, okay, cool, she's rootable now, she's back with Lucky, she's a nurse, and then she started cheating on Lucky. And then it was like a different vibe of her cheating on like Greg Vaughn's Lucky versus when Jonathan Jackson came back and they started like rerouting in Lucky and Elizabeth history. I was like, this is kind of fucked up. And then she gets pregnant. And so like the way they humble her or change her character or make her character rootable again is they kill Jake. And something I was, so you know, like when you're on YouTube and you watch something, like they just like move to the next story. So I was watching, but I completely forgot how they took off Rebecca, who was like the Emily lookalike, after they knew they shouldn't have killed Emily in the first place. So Rebecca found out about the affair between Elizabeth and Nicholas. And she was supposed to be dating Nicholas, so she was salty and she was going to tell Lucky. There was a scene that started coming up and it was like Liz revisits her rape. I was like, what is this? I don't remember seeing this. And it was like all basically Elizabeth. It was so disgustingly written, to be honest, where she was like leveraging her rape to like escape accountability for like the affair. So they had her like at the bar and like Rebecca was clearly about to tell Lucky something. And then she's like, you don't know anything about our history. This is how he found me in the snow. And it was just like, wait, what's going on? Like even Lucky was there kind of like, you don't have to do this right now. And so then they like kind of revisit their whole history of like him finding her, of them getting married in the church, or like, you know, doing the vows in the church, and like the relationship that they had with Emily. And then that's when Rebecca like decided, oh, they are like not a grouping of people who I want to disrupt, so I'm gonna go. I was like, this is disgusting. Like, how is this written this way? And so even when they try to redo these like problematic storylines, they end up like doubling down on being problematic.
And they used that storyline so much as a foundation for Liz and Lucky. And as like a reason why you should care about their story. And you know, this is someone who was a fan of, like a huge fan of them at the time. I'm like, if this is all you got going for your relationship, then I think, you know, maybe don't keep going. And like, you know, there's the scene where when Lucky confronts, you know, Nicholas and Elizabeth, which is iconic, you know.
It's iconic.
Yes,
iconic. You know, so, you know, such great performance, you know, everyone, phenomenal performances from everyone, especially Becky and Jonathan. But the line, and this is just someone who was not rooting for Elizabeth in this storyline, but like the line where he's like, what happened to that girl, the little girl I found in the snow?
Yeah. Fucked up.
Lucky, shut the fuck up. What's wrong with you? That's disgusting. And so like, it's one of the reasons why I just am like, soap operas just don't talk about sexual assault, because you're never going to do it right. You're never going to do it right. I mean, I don't even want to go into too much more detail about it. I was like, because I did research around sexual assault storylines and soap operas, and that paper about took me out. It's bad, y'all. like really bad. So just stop, because y'all can't do it responsibly.
You know,
like, at what point is it even a useful story to tell when it is so embedded in our culture? And unless you're going to be undoing that in a radical way, just don't touch it.
I was wondering, in your research, how much of did you do an analysis of like who was writing those stories, you know, male versus?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I was going more into the content of the stories.
Yeah.
But you know, from like GH, for example, that like Luke's monologue was written by a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just continue to, and then we can kind of move to hot takes after some kind of closing thoughts about this. I just think remembering and like listening to that interview with Jeannie Francis talking about like how she wasn't consulted and all of that, like was just like a really fascinating thing. And they also did the same thing with Lulu. Lulu found out about, so there was like this is when Laura was like in Camp Coma or Camp Catatonic, and they were doing like a hearing about guardianship or something like that. And Scott Baldwin was like arguing against Luke being able to be the decision maker. And so he put, they told Lulu not to come, and they put Nicholas on the stand, and Lulu shows up anyway. And so Nicholas has to like testify that Luke raped Laura. And that's how Lulu found out. So Jeannie wasn't even on the canvas for that. So it continues to be like a story that is only told and only re-examined through Luke's point of view, which is highly, you know, it's beyond problematic. It's a problem. So I don't know. Y'all have closing thoughts about that before we go to free for all hot takes?
Well, that I'm so done with this topic, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Yep.
With it. All right, let's get into some free for all hot takes. Who has them?
I think I kind of incorporated my hot takes in my commentary all day. Yeah.
I have a couple, not that many.
Tell us.
Ava is leading Nina astray onto the path to chaos and destruction. And honestly, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She gave her awful advice, and go for it. Why not? I love it. I already said this, but Michael was at his best with Nell.
No.
Yes, he was.
Sorry,
He
this
was
is
at
your
his most
take.
interesting. I stand by it. He's nothing without her. Love Harm Lexus vibing. Love it. I know I shouldn't, and I don't care. I said this on Twitter. I think that what Harmony did to Willow, and honestly to everyone else, is like unforgivable. But I personally forgive her.
I forgive her.
Not for me to forgive, but I do.
I mean, I forgive her too, and partly because of what you had mentioned earlier, Tracy. I mean, she was a victim too. Yeah. And we forget that part. We feel like, I mean, yes, what she did to her daughter was really crazy, disgusting, but we forget she was manipulated and brainwashed as well.
Yeah. And I think it's like that. What I like about her story is that she's victim and perpetrator, which is how most of the world works. Everyone has a story, and like, justified or not, everyone has a story as to how, everyone has their villain origin story. And like, at least my personal beliefs is that we have to believe that people can be redeemed even if we don't personally forgive them. So I'm like joking about forgiving Harmony and like being a hypocrite and all that. And I'm also like, but seriously, like, let's talk about transformative justice.
Let's redeem her and then let her and Alexis have a thing.
Yes. Marcus Coloma is a glorified extra. And I love it. It's the best thing besides him not being on the show.
Is it really glorified?
Well, he gets a little like picture on the PowerPoint. My kid still doesn't have one, so. I also loved when Joss, the subtle like digs that Joss was still giving, even though she was trying to be nice to Esme. Well, I said it, so
we don't have to keep talking about it.
About it. Just, I'm trying to be nice. Move it along. And also, did Esme kill her parents? Question mark. What happened?
Yeah,
her parents, and did she kill them?
I want you to know I have that exact same thing written with the question mark.
That's it.
I didn't think she killed them, but I do want to know how they died.
There's a special place in hell for people who break up families. Who broke up that family? Was it Ava?
Right. Like, did they have did one of her parents have an affair? And that's why she's going after Ava so hard?
What if it was Sam?
Sam? But she hasn't shown any interest in Sam.
She hasn't, but like, what if it was?
Yeah, but what if it was?
You're just trying to make a storyline for Sam.
I'm trying to give my girl Sam a story.
Sure.
I want her to have Sante, and I want her to have some cray cray, and I want her with my child Spencer.
True.
I actually do have a couple of things I want to know. I did enjoy the scenes between Valentine and Victor. I enjoy them. They really look a lot alike. Mm-hmm. And I like that their father-son dynamic. And it looks like Valentine is inching his way back into evil Cassadine territory again and trying to figure out what to do about Brooklyn. And so I'm interested in that messiness, and I'm interested in how Anna is going to react to it, whether she'll go, because right now it's up in the air. She might actually go along with it, because you don't know, or she may talk him down. I don't know, but she is also keeping an eye on Valentine, and she apparently missed the elevator scene, because apparently she's supposed to be keeping an eye on Victor and she missed that. So
she's chilling with Felicia. That's why.
Yeah, Felicia distracted her from her mission. So that'll be an interesting dynamic. What else there was something else that I
the mission.
Fuck that baby. Keep tabs on Valentine. Your man's being led astray. Literally, during that scene with Victor and Valentine, I was like, don't do it. Do it. Don't do it. Do it. Don't do it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Can we, as a side note, just set up a photo shoot so we can have you do that meme? Because I think it'd be so important.
Kermit, but with leopard fur.
Yeah. Just
that is
do it.
My GH persona. Yes.
Do it. We can just take a picture of you right now and then put do it. And at the bottom.
I'll gif it.
Yeah, gif it. Just be like, do it. Also, I am enjoying Austin and Britt. That's interesting that he volunteered to be her wingman. That would be an interesting, funny side plot. See that happen. So yeah.
Wingman to lover.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm here for it. I like it.
Right. Yeah. Those are the two that come to my hot takes.
I have a list.
Ugh.
Ready? Felicia said, I'm back, bitches, and I'm sparkly. Go off, stunt. Valentine leaving Anna after that kiss. I didn't want to leave Anna after that kiss.
Mm-mm.
A scene full of vaccinated vets. We love to see it. I wish more people had seen the Vanna makeout session so we could have had more reactions.
That was actually the part I was the angriest about, more so than Valentine leaving Anna. I was like, so we don't get any reacts from anyone about this epic makeout session?
Right.
Okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Nina walking in with Sunny, girl, you are the Uber. There is no door service. Bye. Victor Castanine Sheffield is looking really dapper. I love his evil eyes. I don't care about Drew and Carly. Throw away the scene. It is a throwaway scene. I'm actually really sad that I don't like Jason. I used to love Jason, and then I grew up. Sonny had to keep a bachelor pad because he's a fuckboy, and that's what fuckboys do. Great gowns, beautiful gowns, but for coats. Something about Sonny bringing up Stone didn't feel good to me. Sonny is kind of awful, but his redeeming qualities are his relationships. So when he is being awful, to see him bring up like Stone, it just like didn't feel good to me. I can't really, that's why it's a hot take, and it wasn't something I like built out because it was just a feeling that didn't feel good to me. But anyway, Nina, you do not hope Sonny and Carly work it out, and that's okay. Lean into that. I wrote down, how do two beautiful people have so little chemistry? And I knew exactly that it was about Curtis and Portia. Free Portia. Nicholas, why don't you have a Google alert set for your company, you fucking moron? You had to find out about it in the print media? Print? What an idiot. Kevin, yes, supportive bae. I might have to show up to the studio if they try to break up Kevlar. I take their stability personally in this time of great turmoil. Monica is a dream shipper.
Monica is a Sam FF.
Monica is a
like he's just like, I don't care which one of my sons Sam ends up with, but I fuck with her.
Right.
She does. Know who she doesn't fuck with and why I was mad about it? Carly. And they should have never had a scene where she acted like she fucked with Carly. But I digress. That's not on my list. Again, Shawn, a man. I don't know. It's just, that's where we are. Maura leaves just nothing on the table. Every look, every gesture, it gives you something to track. And I find that same thing is true about Sydney, Nicholas, and Avery. Any scene that they're in, I want to watch it more than once because I want to see what they're doing in the background. How many times are we gonna have to hear somebody say "on the lamb"? Like, seriously, y'all. Okay, we get it.
Without actually seeing someone on the lamb.
I want to see it. Barbara Jean, exclamation point, tears. I care so much more about the reaction to Luke's death than I do about Luke's death. JPS is so charming. Valentine Cassadine is a mess of a character that we should all hate, but who could hate JPS? I love him. I love Shady Kevin. Give me more Shady Kevin. And when Shady Kevin like shades with the receipts, because there's like a shady that he is to Esme, it's like, whatever. But then there's the shady, like, oh, you're talking about your dad who did blah, blah, blah. Like Shady Kevin with receipts, I love because it reminds you Kevin's a fucking vet and he has been around. Liz and Finn have anti-chemistry. That kiss, my eyes. What was that?
It in slow motion too. It wasn't better slow, y'all. I know the fast one was weird. The slow one was worse.
Yes, it's really bad.
I'm so confused about why it's so bad, but it's really bad.
I wrote, I'm so secure in my marriage, I'm going to let you call your former spy bae. I see you, Ned. When Ned told Olivia to call Robert, that was I'm secure.
Yeah.
The baby swap is so insulting to so many people. Get my vets out of this. Like, put my vets in it, but also get my vets out of it. Like, wrap that shit up, please. The Valentine line when he said, I would say the same, Victor, but I'm not going to lie. Just, it's so quick, the quick wit. Yeah. Michael, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? That's just like the note. Also the note, Maxie do not be with her other kids. Where them kids at? Like, and I wanted some continuity between Maxie's conversation with Martin at the hospital and Maxie's conversation with Lucy. So like Maxie like saw Martin and was like, I can't believe you did this. Look what I did for you and Lucy. And then like we see her then with Lucy and there's no mention of it, which was like a little weird. I wish there would have been some continuity there. Victor, stop trying to murder. Stop. It's okay. You take a murder pause. It's okay.
But I like how he's willing to step in and cause mess. What?
He's got a lot of irons on the fire.
Like, you need me to fix that for you? Is that a problem?
And then he's like ready to start phase 2 and like phase 3 and like, how many plots do we have going here, friend?
and
literally trying to be evil.
The thing about it is Victor has plots, but in between at any time he like, do you need me to murder?
Because I
can do it. You know? Like, the murder does not
about a word. You say it.
I just don't want Victor to burn himself out, you know, like your evil is I don't know if this is sustainable, friend, and I want you to last.
I want you to last.
He's like a suave evil. Like he like there's difference between him and Cyrus. Like Cyrus is very menacing.
Yes.
like you're afraid of him. Victor is like, I can murder him for you, and you're like, yes.
Thanks, babe.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
I don't need that right now, but I appreciate having it in my pocket. You know, like,
Keep that in mind.
You can hand out business cards. So you can literally put in your pocket.
So I was thinking about how I got suspended from Facebook several times for saying men are trash and straight women are raccoons. Raccoon here. And I was just like really like amused. I like Facebook kept suspending me for saying men are trash. I got suspended like 3 times. So I don't be over there. So I just really appreciated Olivia just like going and be like, yeah, men are dogs. Obviously, like I felt it like very deeply in my soul, which is that shit to Carly, like clearly, but this is my dog. I am going to be honest. Every time I see somebody say free Sunny, I'm annoyed. Fuck Sunny, free Caroline. That's my campaign slogan. That's what I'm running on in 2024. Catch me on these streets.
2024.
That's my 2024 campaign.
2022 is an election year. Just let you know. You can.
I know, but I'm problematic. I'm not like we're skipping the midterms. No, I'm just playing. I'm not skipping the midterms. I can't even joke about that. I'm gonna go to the midterms. But like, yeah, I can't with him. We've already said all the things that need to be said about Sunny, but or about that dynamic, but I just like the whole idea, like, oh, Sunny's so much lighter with Nina. He's so much lighter with, he's lighter like with not having to face the consequences of how awful he is. If you can get a fresh start, of course you're gonna be lighter. I think about this is me and my flash.
He was the same way with Sam when he was.
Men are
lighter with Sam.
Men are lighter with their mistresses.
Right.
Surprise.
But I think but I also remember, like, you know, I'm a fan of The Flash. Shout out to my West Islanders out there. And there was like a scene where Barry, the Flash, had like lost all his past memories. I mean, he's a hero, not like Sunny, but and like they were like, he's so light, he's so free, he's so whatever. Yes, when you don't have like the past and like all the hurt and the loss burdening you, of course you're gonna be free. So like the idea that like Sunny, who murders and like imports fake purses, deserves to be like light and free. Sure, I'm down for the destruction of Carson. I'm down if you hate Carly. That doesn't bother me because I love like a love to hate kind of person, whatever. Free Sunny? Fuck Sunny. For my Queer Eye fans, Tan came through and gave Carly that French tuck. I see you. Okay. And then, it's never too late for setting straight. Shout out to Lenny. And I'm really struck by how, this is the last one, I'm struck by how alienated Spencer is from the adults in his life. Before Laura came home, all he had was Kevin, and they are not particularly close. And so what I really want to see more of is like Spencer having a point of view from a place of vulnerability instead of a place of anger when he talks to Trina. So like, we have already like seen kind of forecasted that there's like a break or maybe like something happening between Ava and Trina. I don't think it's going to be a break. I think it's just going to be like Trina kind of growing up a little bit more and seeing people for being more complicated. But all she really knows about Spencer is like an anger towards Ava. She doesn't really know about the hurt. And so I would love to like see Spencer like in their like gallery. I'm hoping that there's a situation where they get locked into like a storage room together. A la Dawson's Creek and the Kmart episode, Pacey's Creek actually. And so Tonya, your face, you're like, what the fuck? But I hope they can like, you know, not in any danger, just overnight, locked into a storage room, and they actually get to like talk about their feelings, and like Spencer actually coming to Trina from a place of like sadness and hurt instead of a place of anger, because I think that will like those longing looks, I think will get even more longing-er if she is able to see Bae be like,
oh, she loves.
She loved that when he, I think it was during those scenes where he was talking to Or he's confronting Nicholas about scaring him to death and how he was very hurt and sad by that. And she, I think that was one of the times where she fell for him because she wanted to stay and be there for him and stuff like that. So I agree. I think if she sees that in him again, that'll bring in the hard eyes again.
Yeah.
And I feel like, this last scene was like the runway into that for sure. Cause it's like, she saw Ava kicking him while he was down, which was amazing. And also not Trina's style. I agree with you about the locking in the storage room, but I do want them to be in danger. You're a real fan. You want your faves to be in danger.
I don't want my children in danger. It's a push-pull. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, these are my kids. I don't want them in any danger. I just want them to be,
I want them in danger. It's because I'm an Anna fan, and that's how Anna fans roll. Like, we're only happy if Anna's in mortal danger. So
that she's gonna get out of. There's also something about like the lack of adults in Spencer's life that is really sticking out for me lately. Even I continue to be mad at Sonny for not being there for him. I get it, like he did whatever to Avery and you should be mad, but like being mad does not look like not having a relationship and does not look like abandonment, considering how awful all of y'all have been. And so I think there's a misconnection, especially from like a Joss, who was like, to be thinking Sonny can't forgive Spencer, or Sonny is like not there for Spencer, but like he's been like protective of Nina. Like there feels like a connection from and that also like is a reminder to Sprina fans that like basically Joss and Spencer are related. And so that is not something that folks should have to worry about on the horizon. And I wish that there was more of a connection there. So those are my hot takes. Sandra, I'm so interested in your predictions.
Oh, well, for as far as forecasting into this week, prepare yourselves. Maybe Tonya, the emotional fallout that you're looking for will happen this week. I hope so, but they've been doing awful in that arena, but it's going to be a heavy Carly, Sonny, and Nina week. They're kind of like
on the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be them on the front line of the canvas this week. So take that what you will. I don't have any particular predictions around it, but just be expecting to see a lot of them this week. I say this with a great deal of dread because we all know it's my least favorite week.
Yeah.
But I would be excited if there was an actual mess, like if Carly does actually lay hands on Nina, or even the other way around, but they're not going to pull that shit with Nina because that would be too interesting. I wish Nina would just go off, but anyway, we can also expect to see a lot of the baby swap storyline and like Anna and Felicia getting their hands even more in that, along with the development of like further development of the Cassadine storyline, and in particular I think the kind of battle that's building between Victor and Laura. So we know that Victor is responsible for neutralizing Luke. He's called off the hit on Laura, so something about his plan had something to do with the two of them. And that there is a phase 2, hopefully involving the vets. I'm assuming it's going to be like a more vet-centered storyline, but I do also wonder, like, where do the Cassadines fit into this? What might Spencer's part be, since he seems to be such an integral part, obviously, as the future heir? And also, what do both of them have in mind for Valentine? Because both Laura and Victor have something in mind for Valentine that they named this week. Laura was saying, let's get a meeting with Valentine. Laura wants to meet with Valentine, not about Charlotte. What's she gonna do to him? I'm excited. I also love a Laura and Valentine exchange. I think their relationship is so wild and interesting, and I love to see Jeannie go off on him. So, but also Victor, what is he proposing with BLQ? How's Anna gonna feel about it? We know Anna doesn't really fuck with BLQ now or ever historically, but certainly not now. She was like, nah, I'm good on you. Whenever the Valentine stuff first came out. So curious about that. We'll also get to see Brad this week. So I don't know if that also means seeing Selena anytime soon, but it's kind of good. I'm happy to see that storyline pop back up in the new year. And I have a feeling that we'll also start to see like what are more of like what Selena's intentions are in like the weeks following. We won't see a lot of our teens the next couple weeks. But they're not going to be going to the cabin anytime soon. But Monday we pick back up with Trina, Spencer, and Esme. So Spencer's with Victor. We're going to hear a little bit more about what it is that Victor wants from Spencer, or at least what he's saying he wants from him. And I continue to be curious about how does he factor into Victor's larger plans? And who are those pills for?
Right.
When are these pills for? Are these cabin pills? Are these camp prison pills? Are these
birth control pill? They could be anything, really. Prescription.
Well, they're not birth control because of what they said about this is a large dose. So there's no reason you would give someone like a large dose of birth control. I say this as a reproductive health person. Anyway, so yeah, like what kind of pills are they? How'd she get them? What are they for? I know a lot of people are like, is she gonna poison everyone at the cabin? I also wonder, like, does this actually have nothing to do with the teen storyline as it stands? And is this part of her other motivations that we don't know about?
She's still Kevin's prescription pad.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. And so is that also another breadcrumb that can lead folks to discover her? And then we're gonna have Trina processing her feelings about Ava with Portia. And so I also don't think there will be a complete break between Ava and Trina, but they have been foreshadowing the seeds of tension between them ever since Spencer arrived. And so I have been wondering for a while, like, when is this moment gonna happen when Trina has to actually reckon with the real Ava? Just like Trina's had to reckon with the real Spencer, she'll have to reckon with her, she has been and will continue to have to reckon with the real Portia, and also her real father, or at least her biological father, because Taggart's still her real father. He raised her. And Curtis also made a contribution. So I think another thing that this last Sprina scene brought up is just like making clear what the trajectory for them is. So we have the cabin to look to for some sort of conflict. We have whatever is going to happen in Camp Prison, which will also probably mean like a great deal of separation. We're used to that though, because we barely see them together anyway. But then also the promise of whatever is going to happen with the gallery. So I've also just been wondering, like, when is Spencer going to find out about Esme? It feels like it would be opportune for him to be trapped in Spring Ridge. And find out and then not be able to do anything about it, right? Not be able to escape her, first of all. That's terrifying to me. But also not being able to intervene for any plans that he might pick up on. But it also leaves me wondering, like, what will things be like when he gets out? So speculating a lot about that, and even if he does find out, will he be able to actually separate himself from her? I don't think so. I think he's gonna, I think the barnacle will be staying for a while. And what might it look like for him to deceive her and like turn the tables on her, put the full brunt of his Cassidine-ness, but will his feelings for Trina ultimately get him caught? Probably, because that's what always happens to Spencer. So nothing like immediate for the teens, but just like excited about the trajectory, and also like, what the hell's going on with Cam and Esme? And I've been wondering if it's actually, so Martin is representing Peter. That's something that we haven't really talked about this episode. And obviously is going to get him off because we can't get rid of Peter for some godforsaken reason. And so what's Cam's reaction going to be to that? And so I've been wondering for a while, like, how can they actually put Cam and Esme together without it being completely out of character for Cam and without him looking like a complete and total dumbass? And it would make sense to me if she leveraged his grief and rage about Franco's death and Peter getting away with it to bring out angry Cam.
I would love a sweet, simple to angry, simple Cam transition.
I'm very excited for him. I'm very excited for him and for me and the mess.
I love it all. I'm hopeful. I just really feel like GH writers need to just search the GH hashtag on Twitter, take some storyline ideas. I think that all of us are willing to just have those ideas, take them. If we put them out on Twitter, just take them.
No, you better pay
really
me.
Good.
You better pay me.
I'm willing to come and do a walk-in and talk to Esme. And you just pay for my flight down there.
No, get paid full.
Yeah.
Oh, stop giving away your shit for free. Get paid.
I really think you should just give me Marcus's salary, to be honest. Whatever he's making, give it to me.
Well, I also think that Marcus should be tithing to Maura, to Charles Shaughnessy, to John Lindstrom, to
Nicholas. Yeah.
He should be tithing his salary. And then the rest can go to us for having to watch him.
Having to endure.
Because here's my thing, because we can't let it go without me talking about Marcus. So all the other actors have been like, one of the things that they have done really well is like promote each other. Like you can see like friendships, relationships, respect, like all of those things through their social media interactions. And for somebody who runs his own burner account, you would think that Marcus would be better at this. Why has he never been like so happy to work with like legend Jenny Francis, so happy to like be like in this pairing with the amazing Maura West? We never see that from him. But what we do see is you shouting out Maurice Bernard. We do see you liking all Ingo shit. We do see you like sweating Steve Burton. Why is it that I don't see these same things with you and the women who uphold you? Who literally are carrying you on their back? I'm pretty sure, standard, they say, when you start a job, you have to be able to carry 50 pounds. Marcus is more than 50 pounds and Maura has to carry him everywhere. That's all I have for him.
Well, they're not, Maura and Jeannie are not good candidates for being brainwashed for Scientology. So it's probably not high on Marcus's list of priorities from, on high.
Where do I go? I don't have anything to put over my face. I wasn't ready. Y'all have really just got me to a point where I don't be ready today. Okay, well, just like parting shots at Marcus, which is what other way to end? Just our brand. Look at the Kermit.
Do it.
Like, I know we're talking about Curb and Me, but you definitely channeled some Elmo. Like, have you ever seen a rock eat?
Have you? Okay, I'm done for real.
We're done. Thanks all for listening to us today. Heavy episode, but also really fun. So, we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.